You, Ian, can you hear me? Yeah, you're muted.
Hear me now?
Yes.
What's up?
No. Uh, Brian, you there? No. So there wasn't really much news today, right?
Yeah, we're good. We got a few healthy scratches, but nothing too crazy.
Okay. So you'll talk um, about, I guess, like news updates and then any changes we made to projections. And then I'll talk some
Hey,
about.
hold on, Matt. Chill out for a sec. Let's get Brian in here.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, what's up, Brian?
Hey guys. Hopefully there's
All right. So Sean is saying that we are on his TV screen right now.
All right.
Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me share.
Sean is saying that this is the worst TV show ever. He's correct. Hopefully this isn't live to everyone. Is it, Brian? Like right now?
Brian might be having some problems.
Bueller? Okay, so it's not shared yet. Well, way to go, Brian.
Yeah, Matt, there wasn't much news. We got a Jeremy Curley scratch and Zenner scratch, which, helps out Robbie and Abdullah, but nothing too crazy other than that.
Yeah, what were the changes? Let's just, I think, kind of go ahead and get unofficially started.
Yeah.
Brian saying that he thinks his internet is awful, and I agree.
Yeah.
What were the changes that we made to Abdullah's projections?
Yeah, so it wasn't a wholesale change because Dwayne Washington's still active and he could theoretically have Zenner's kind of goal line role, but definitely, Abdullah got an extra like 2.5 of Zenner's carries and a little more touchdown upside. No real change in receiving production, but he's still got a decent role there, even with Riddick, as they're passing down back.
Mm-hmm. And then any changes to Robbie Anderson's projection?
Yeah, we got your boy Robbie going up with Curly out, and then kind of hard to figure out what they're doing after that. Jermaine Kearse figures to be out there and most of the 2 wide sets, but after Robbie, we got some guys like Sharon Peak that might have a small impact, but yeah, mostly Robbie is looking like the guy in New York.
Yeah. Brian, you there yet?
Yeah, I'm here. You guys good?
Yep.
All right, we're finally
there.
Good.
He is.
Are you guys proceeding like we're live?
Yeah, sort of.
All right, I'm gonna tweet out that we're going live in 2 minutes, and then we'll start.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, Matt. Right. Do you think there's a clear number 3 in New York? Really? I mean, or Darius Stewart maybe, or.
But he's a healthy scratch, right?
Yeah. I mean, fuck. I just don't know who they're rolling out with.
I think it's Peak, which is amazing.
I think it is Peak. Yeah. So okay, that sounds good.
All right. So Brian, are you gonna do like an intro to all this, or is it just like?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to share my screen if I can do so.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and then Yeldon was game time decision as well, and he's out. But
can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can Can you see like anything else other than the screen?
I can see your screen. That's it.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. All right, we should be good. All right, I'm gonna wait one more sec. All right, cool. All right, let's go. All right, thanks guys for joining us on Fantasy Labs Live. We had a little bit of a difficulty getting live here, but definitely going to be more smooth in the coming weeks now that we know how to do this. I got Matt Freeman and Ian with me. We are going to just briefly touch on injuries just because they came out just a couple minutes ago, talk projection changes and what we expect things to be different based on just the information we just got. Ian, let's start with like the big ones. What are the big changes? I guess Odell's the huge one that we need to talk about because looking doubtful for tonight.
Yeah, so Beckham's looking doubtful. We're now starting to expect basically Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram to get their respective bumps. Roger Lewis and Dwayne Harris will probably work as kind of the 3 and 4 wide receivers in those sets, but it still hasn't been ruled official yet, so got to still keep an eye on the news. But, all the beat writers are basically saying that it's looking like Beckham's not going to be in.
Yeah, Matt, what are your thoughts on sort of how are you if adjusting projections here? And what do we know about a guy like Ingram? Like, what do you think his ownership's going to be? People don't know much about him. Do you think he's going to be like an integral part of the offense, or do you think most of his targets, of Beckham's targets, are going to go to Shepard and Marshall?
Yeah, so Shepard has traditionally operated in the middle of the field, but I think they are going to use Ingram a little bit more in that role. He has a pretty nice matchup going against Dallas, which last year was 30th in pass DVOA against tight ends. So they are extremely vulnerable. I think they were also top 3 in fantasy points per game allowed to the position. So he has a lot of upside there. Dallas, again, 29th in pass DVOA on passes of 15 yards or fewer through the air. So they're very exploitable. I think both Shepard and Ingram are going to have the opportunity to do well. It's hard to know with Marshall, just older guy, but I think he's worth taking some shots on, especially if Beckham is out.
Yeah, I will note that DraftKings with their late swap, Beckham, even if you want to like roll the dice, he's going to go in. Definitely put him in your flex spot where you can pivot to any number of players, whether you just sort of eat the salary and go to Marshall or you go to someone like Ezekiel Elliott. What are your thoughts on that strategy, Matt?
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm also looking right now to see what the props are for all of those other receivers in that New York offense, but that might be something to pay attention to. I don't know if those are actually released yet. It doesn't look like they are, but pay attention on those because there could be some opportunities there.
Cool. Let's talk some other injuries. Ian, anything that was surprising or just something that you might want to think about as you're finishing building lineups in the next 30, 45 minutes?
Yeah, so on the 1 o'clock slate, there were 2 healthy scratches that kind of came as a surprise. First one's with the Jets. Recently acquired Jeremy Curley. He's out, healthy scratch. They just signed him this past week, so it's not super surprising, I guess. But he's out of the slot. It's great news for Robbie Anderson. Right now we got, Sean Peak sliding into the slot, but it's looking most like Jermaine Kearse and Robbie Anderson are the 2 main receivers to go with the Jets today.
Yeah, so Adam Levitan's how high he was on Robbie Anderson is just it's going through the roof right now. Freeman, what are your thoughts on the Jets offense? Obviously not projected for a lot of points here, but Robbie Anderson does seem to be somewhat of a darling of the sharp players this week.
Yeah, I love Robbie Anderson. He's cheap. He has great deep speed, which goes along well with what Josh McCown can do, which is basically when he's standing up, just throw the ball long and hope that some tall guy can jump up and catch it. That was sort of his, recipe for success with the Bears a few years ago. That's what Robbie Anderson does well. So I think there's a lot of upside potential with Anderson, not so much with anyone else in that offense, maybe with the exception of Bilal Powell, who could lead the team in receptions this game and maybe even receiving yards if he's able to break one of those long. So those 2 guys, I think, have a lot of potential. outside of them, I'm not really interested in that offense. I guess except if you're, maybe stacking in a contrarian way with McCown.
For sure. All right, let's jump over to Detroit. Zach Zenner was the other sort of surprise scratch. I mean, maybe not affecting things too much, but Ian, let's just quickly talk about what we expect from this offense. We are going to have some tough matchups. Peterson going against Tate, and Tyrann Mathieu obviously being a difficult matchup for Ebron in the middle of the field. What are our thoughts on the running backs here? Abdullah and Theo Riddick are really the only two running backs that should get any run, right?
Yeah, mostly. Dwayne Washington is also active, which throws a little bit of a wrench in the only Riddick Abdullah idea. But Zach Zenner being a healthy scratch is really good news for Abdullah, who worked as more of a 3-down back during his 2 games last year than I think people might be aware of. So it's looking like Abdullah is going to be mostly the guy on 3 downs with, Theo will get his passing down work as usual. And Dwayne Washington's, there to potentially steal a goal line carry or two, but it's looking like the Ameer Abdullah show.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting team, Matt. I mean, we have guys that are just so cheap relative to their talent level. I mean, Ebron definitely, it rates highly in our models, even with the tough matchup against Mathieu in the Cardinals. But I mean, Ameer Abdullah at 4,300, Theo Riddick 47. He's been a DraftKings darling with the PPR format all of last year. Seems to be some interesting plays here despite the tough matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to carry the Adam Levitan torch on this, and I'm going to say that I know that we are projecting Abdullah right now, I think, for around 40-ish rushing yards, which I think is on the low end. And right now, the prop is 45 over under, plus 100 over, negative 130 under. So the market thinks that he should go under that, but Adam Levitan is really high on Abdullah. Part of that is probably his pass catching ability, but I think he's going to get more than 10 carries in this game. I think it's going to go closer to 12 or 15. And with that, I think he probably has a good chance of going on the over.
Yeah. Good call. All right, before we get out of here, any last injuries you guys want to talk about? Maybe not the skill position players, but I know that, the Green Bay Packers have some issues on their line. There's some defensive players that are out, even though we might have known them just, if people hadn't been following along with news, things that could, affect projections. Matt, anything that you want to just throw out there?
Yeah, so, we've known about the Andrew Luck injury for a while, but we're about to really see the full effect of that. The Rams defense is conceivably good. They have good players, but Aaron Donald is out. They're transitioning defenses right now. They've really reorganized what they're doing in the secondary. If the Colts can't have any success against the Rams this week, it's not looking good for them in the future. And in T.Y. Hilton's 10 games without Andrew Luck, he's averaged 67 receiving yards over the last 4 years, compared to 82.45 with Luck. Hilton has some splash potential, but it could be pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a very high ceiling, but Scott Tolzien, throwing to him is never a good thing. Ian, any last injury stuff that you want to talk about, whether it's a skill position player or maybe a defensive or a line guy that might affect things?
Yeah, so I thought one potential guy was Garyon Conley, the Raiders' first-round cornerback. He's out, and, we got that Titans-Raiders, total. I think it's tied for the second highest in the slate right now. So Raiders recognize they had an issue in the secondary last year, and the guy they tried to fix it with is out. So, all guns a fire for Eric Decker and all them. So,
yeah, Rishard Matthews especially, I think, is pretty undervalued. Not just in DFS, but also on his prop.
Yeah, he's going to be definitely a chalky guy. We're getting some questions here, and one that I will just quickly answer. I'll toss this to Ian, actually, before we get out of here. Just thoughts on who's going to match up who, wide receiver cornerback situation in this Raider-Tennessee Titans game, specifically like Rishard Matthews. Are we worried about any of the secondary guys for the Raiders?
I think worried would be a pretty strong word. They got David Amerson out there, who is their number one corner last year. But the thing is, the Raiders, I mean, it's going to be Emerson, Sean Smith. They basically stay on their own side of the field. So even if you think one of them is a above average corner, which I don't, but Raiders should be able to. I'm sorry, Titans should be able to get whatever matchup they want if they want to move the guys around. So.
Yeah, it definitely seems this game is going to be full of fantasy goodness, as CSU Ram 88 would say. Any last thoughts, fellas?
No, let's peace out.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do these every Sunday. So thanks for being patient with us as we're getting it up and running. But we're going to keep it short. We're going to keep these 10 to 15 minutes at the most. And it's just running through the most important injury updates. Not too much on week 1, which is great. OBJ is definitely the big one that you want to monitor. Put him in your flex so you could pivot if you need to on DraftKings and be sort of wary of him on FanDuel. Thanks for joining us. Good luck in week 1. We'll talk to you guys soon.